This is section 2 of the video. The next thing is lines. And here it says leading lines are visual elements that pull the viewer's eye towards a subject or focal point. So lines kind of draw your eyes in to look at a certain spot. Okay? It could be anything. It could be roads running off in the distance. It could be an arm stretched out towards something else. It could be tree branches rising toward the moon. Anything that pulls your attention to something else. And they don't have to be straight. You can have curved lines that lead your eyes into a certain place within an image. And so here I found a mat in our science equipment that had lines, horizontal lines, vertical lines. Where they meet, they basically form essentially arrows, right? They've got corners, and all of it points towards this object made out of blocks that I've put pretty much in the center of the mat. So all those lines lead into that image. So in this image, if you imagine the rule of thirds, the top horizontal line and the right vertical line would basically place you right on the top of that cylinder of concrete. But if you look at the actual lines in the picture, the lines from the cylinder of concrete lead to the top of it, and the lines from that post that are stuck in the concrete lead to that cylinder as well, the top of that cylinder. So those main lines within the image lead to the same place. And this one is of a horse. And again, in this case, the focus is that intersection between the top horizontal line and the vertical, or the rightmost vertical line. But you've got all the lines, well, for the most part, the lines from the fence, almost every single one, leading towards the horse. And also even the lines created by the horse itself that kind of lead to the focal point, which is the head of the horse. And this is an interesting one. It's internal framing. And so what it is, it's a frame within the frame. So a frame inside of your picture. It's an effective way of portraying depth in a scene. And it's can be an easy way to make your pictures look more interesting. You just have to look for situations where you can create that internal frame. So it says you can use windows, arches, or overhanging branches to frame the scene with, and the frame doesn't have to surround the entire scene to be effective. It could just be on two sides. It could be potentially, just the top and one side. It doesn't have to surround the subject of your picture. In this case, you've got, it's not a gingerbread house. It's actually made out of chocolates. But this chocolate house, and inside the frame created by the structure is Chocolate Santa. And this is that same stop sign that had appeared earlier. And if I'm splitting these up, it might have been in the previous video. But this picture's taken through a shack that they had, a shelter that they had for admitting people in and out of local park. And so this picture is actually taken through a window and a doorway, and then there's the fence and the stop sign beyond it. So it's being framed by a window and a doorway. And here you've got this horse peeking out. That's Rainbow peeking out, and from her friends behind her friend. And so the legs of the other horse, the neck and the head create a frame around Rainbow. And then I took that and turned it to one of my horse memes. So I am invisible, right? Not exactly, but nice try. So framing and cropping. Again, this is a picture you would have seen before, possibly in the previous video, depending how I split this. But again, if composition of a photo is a little bit off, it's often possible to improve it in post-production with a quick crop. So you can edit out certain things. And if you're talking about the rule of thirds and something's just a little bit off, you can crop the picture so that it ends up in the right place. So for example, that one stop sign picture that I had showed earlier, I cropped it so that the edges of that sign matched with the vertical lines. And I cropped it so that where the other parts of the sign, the other angles on the sign branched off from those edges, actually were at the points where the horizontal and vertical lines intersected. So you can do certain things through cropping that can definitely change the focus of your picture and improve the composition. Yeah, so like it says here, just by moving the edge of the frame, you can often find a good image within a mediocre one. So here's a picture that you've seen before as well. It's the top of an air filter taken at a kind of a weird angle and close in. But I didn't like at the top because there's a solid bit in the middle. And so I thought, well, if I crop that out, it'll make it look more interesting where you just have all these circles leading off into the distance. And so that's what I did. And I think that makes it look more interesting. And then I even cropped it some more, so it seems even more of a close-up. But now it looks like the circles just continue on forever, right? You don't even realize that they stop. I mean, you got to imagine things don't really go on forever, but you certainly don't notice that in the middle you had a solid piece. And this is one picture taken at Disney World at Galaxy's Edge. And so you've got a few droids in that picture. And, there's that shelf on the left-hand side with a bunch of parts inside and parts stacked on top of it. And looks like a tub. Well, I guess that one droid is having an oil bath, most likely. And so I thought, well, if I tighten this up, I crop it. Now we've got the focus is really drawn to that droid in the front. And with the rule of thirds, if I'm not mistaken, that one yellow droid in the background, the left side of it is kind of along that vertical line. And the main droid in the front is along the vertical line on the other side. And this is an interesting picture. Well, it could be a more interesting picture. Let's put it that way. The interesting part is it could be more interesting, but it's kind of got a whole bunch of things going on in it. And the weird thing is, if you look at the left side very closely, there's part of a horse's head there. So it's kind of jumbled up. So by cropping it, you can get the focus on the three horses that are feeding there. By cropping it more, you get the focus just on that one horse. Cropping it in a different way, now the focus is on that shed. You can see the one horse in the background there, but the focus is on the shed. Cropping it again, the focus is on a different building. And when I was showing these pictures to somebody, they were like, that's not even in the picture, but it is. If you look at the original, it's right in the middle in the back. So you don't, in the original picture, you don't even notice it, but if you crop it, it becomes the focus of the picture. And then this is a picture I took. There's a kind of like a BMX track across the street from our school, and these berries were growing just on the edge of that track. And the wind was blowing when I was taking the picture, and so I think I had originally had it composed in my mind a little bit differently, but with the wind, this is how it came up. So if I crop it, now what was on the left side of the picture is on the right side of this picture. And so now you've got those two stems that are basically helping to cut this image into thirds, again, if you're following the rule of thirds. So it makes it a much more interesting picture, I think. And this is an interesting picture too. I took it of these horses. They were kind of laying on the ground. The one in front had actually been rolling around on the ground, and it got up and started shaking itself. And so I thought, well, that'd be a neat picture to get. You get the tail kind of, waving around, flying around while it's shaking. You get the mane flying around while it's shaking. And so then I started to crop it to get rid of some of the extra stuff in the picture at the bottom and at the top. And I noticed something interesting, that you could actually kind of see a cloud of dust and dirt and hair around the horse as it was shaking itself. And so here I'll just have that cropped version fill the screen here, basically, and you can should really be able to see the hair and the dust and the dirt that's flying. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and certainly it was by accident. I wanted to catch a picture with the mane and with the tail kind of going in all directions as it was shaking, and there is that element, but I thought it was more interesting to see the details from everything that was being shaken off of the horse. And yes, these are the same two horses. Actually, this was taken before the other one. Again, I was taking a picture while it was shaking itself, and in shaking itself, when I started cropping, I noticed its eyes looked a little bit crazy. So I cropped that, turned it into another one of my horse memes, and there we go. Is it Friday yet? And this one is another one I ended up cropping and turned into a horse meme. But you've got, actually, I can see 5 horses here. I don't know if there's another one hiding kind of in the background, but there's definitely 5 that I see. And a boy in the hay, and I cropped it, and I probably could have cropped it even closer, but you got the white horse kind of staring at the kid. And so I turned into a meme. Are you going to eat that? To be continued.